Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me on the next installment of the hashtag Ditch the Clip series, where we look to get rid of clips and chart systems for behavior management in our early childhood settings and instead use relationship and skill building to really build our littles up. So today we're going to delve a little bit more deeply into those 101s. Remember, if you'd like the entire comprehensive list of 101 principles of positive guidance, you can check out the Old Dominion University website at odu.edu and type in the 101s in the search bar. It is the first search result. So today we're going to look at the if-then statement. I find this a very powerful tool for our littles as well as for adults. I think it's powerful in my personal experience because it really begins to connect a child's behaviors and choices and actions with a consequence. There are very few times in life that you'll find that something just happens completely outside of your control. A lot of times there are prior actions and choices that really lead up to that. So things like natural disasters, obviously, we don't really have a lot of control over. But there's many other things that you'll encounter that you do have control over. And the earlier our children see that connection, those two things are together, then they start to control those choices a little bit better within themselves. So for example, take spilled milk. You know, that's something early childhood educators, as our littles start to use those open cups, we see quite a bit. Now, it's an accident. You know, most of our kids are not just dumping their milk out. Some of them are. I've had that kid too. But most of them are not just dumping out their milk, right? It's something that happens accidentally. And most of the time it's because they're not paying attention. They're not attending to how close it is to the edge of the cup or the table, or where their arms are when they're telling you that story about that great big pumpkin, or a fish that they caught, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe they're just kind of playing with their fork, and so it spills. The earlier they start to understand that they had control over that, the better. So when you do this, or if you fling your fork around, then you're going to spill your milk. When they start to hear that, that internal dialogue starts to mimic that. So your external words start to become what they're hearing internally as well. So you're saying those things. You're kind of giving that warning with, hey, I see you're playing with your fork. Be very careful, because if you play with your fork, it could hit your cup. You know, or if you hit your cup with your arm, it's going to spill. So you're beginning to connect the action with the consequence, okay? And we really want that to happen. We want them to understand that they have control over those choices and the results. Now, as much as humanly possible, we really want you to make those results, that end result, a logical consequence. The example with the milk is a very logical consequence. If I say something to my daughter, such as, if you don't clean up your room, then you're not going to the movies on Friday with your grandmother. Those don't really go together. You know, what does cleaning her room have to do with going to the movies on another day of the week? Now, if I said something to her like, if you don't pick up your books, then I can't take you to the library to get more books. That's showing how the respect of the materials, the respect of the books does indicate whether or not I feel like she's responsible enough to get some from the library, and that's something that she enjoys doing. So in that example, it makes a little bit more sense. Now, sometimes as early childhood educators, you're a little busy, right? You might have a class full of 2-year-olds running around, and I know in our state, the state ratio 1 to 8 for that age group. If you're 3s, 1 to 10. Clearly they've never been changing diapers when they set those rules up, the people who came up with those ratios. So it can be a little tough to come up with a meaningful, logical consequence. And that's where I always say, in your back pocket, keep the idea of relating how you are going to feel. And I say that because it lays the groundwork for positive modeling of negative emotions. And a lot of our kids don't have that, so it's a very important skill for them to learn. So what I mean by that is, if a child, let's say, is yelling, if you continue to yell, then I'm going to feel very frustrated. Now, I know that sounds kind of meaningless, but it is a logical consequence, and you are going to feel that way. And again, when we go a little bit more in depth into modeling, we'll talk about why that's important to lay those seeds, lay those groundworks, okay? So that is something I can guarantee. Consistency is so important. So if you give them that consequence, that then statement, it has to happen. And I can guarantee in a lot of those situations, if it's something that I've repeatedly told them and I'm feeling frustrated, I can guarantee if it continues again, I will be more frustrated. So that is something I can be consistent with. I can follow through with that, that consistency, huge, huge, huge. So that's something that I know I can do. It might not be as logical as I want it to be, but it does lay groundwork for other skill building. So that's a-okay. So start to brainstorm now before you're in those situations and go, you know, my kids really have a tough time with transitions, with cleaning up, with whatever the case may be. And think of your problem areas and come up with a few things that you can really logically connect to it, that you can use when you are feeling frustrated. Because when you start to get elevated in your emotions through frustration or anger or lack of patience, then your body's releasing chemicals that's making it hard for you to think very logically and through critically. So it's important that you have a few ideas already ready. Brainstorm with the other teachers in your classroom, or even some parents if you feel comfortable enough opening up to them about it, and really have some of those ideas at the ready that you can throw out. And again, if you don't have something, just rely back to how you're going to feel. Hopefully you find that a little helpful for you. I would definitely recommend trying this for a week or two, using those if then, when then statements with your littles. I'd love to hear about how it's going for you. So you can find me here on YouTube. Definitely subscribe to the channel or comment down below. Or you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Immersed Learning. That's where all the social media handles are. And I definitely love to hear how your journey is going. I've heard back from a few of you already, and I'm very excited for how things are changing for you as well. So enjoy all of your littles, and remember that you are helping shape that future. So #ditch the clips, and let's make it a better future for them. Thank you.